You mentioned that you have people that are coming up with some unique ideas. And to your right, we have such people. So, were they in the crazy category or
I did not say crazy.
no, it's crazy.
I did not.
Wild.
We're going to check. It was not crazy. Adventurous, maybe.
Adventurous. Bold.
Bold.
Exactly.
Yes. Outside the box thinkers,
Yeah.
which are boomers in general.
Absolutely. So, many of you guys know our friends, the Olsons. So, Dana and Marilyn have generously agreed to share their journey. Shannon actually helps them with the sale and purchase of a home. So, I'm gonna kick it off with Marilyn because Marilyn, primarily you and Jim had, a conversation probably about we're just going to stay in our house, right? Like originally, before the idea of making a move, was it just going to we were going to stay here, or were you kicking around what your options were?
I'd say it started much earlier than that.
Okay.
The scripture says, train up a child in the way they should go. And so during the time that we cared for several of our family members, and my mother was with us the longest, Dana said one day, in fact, we moved to the house that you sold before Dana was married. How long have you been married?
This is a test.
Sure. So 20,
yeah. We're going to see if it does feedback.
So 24 years ago, she was beginning to see what was happening, and she said to me, "Don't worry, Mom, we're watching." So I thought, maybe we should do this right.
Yeah.
So it made me act nicer to my mother, on those days when I wanted to take her medicine myself. Life is tough sometimes.
Right.
So we began just looking at that, and then had been involved with other people who had done things different ways. So we've always been a close family, and did lots of family gatherings together. And so the idea of living closer was kind of talked about loosely, casually, and so that's kind of where it started long ago. So
okay.
I don't know that we talked about. I don't think Jim and I really talked about staying there necessarily, but we talked about different options.
Okay.
And even the house Dana moved in at one point, the people were moving out because of health issues and not being able to climb stairs. So we saw other people, and we were living it ourselves.
Right. And I love that you share that. And I think that's a really good tip for you guys. And we've talked about this before. Do the what if game. If you know of somebody in your sphere of life that you see walk through something really difficult, and you like, oh, okay, what if that was me? How would I handle that? What would that look like? Play it out in your head, because I think that that's a really good training ground for.
But not only play it out in your head, but talk about it.
Talk about it. Yeah.
So Dana could share a little bit more, but when a friend of hers, a young mother, passed away, Dana was talking at the Sunday dinner table with everybody about what do you want for your funeral. So we talking openly about every piece of it, and there's plenty of examples in our daily lives if you just look around.
Right.
And so try on the clothes yourself.
Yeah.
See if it works.
I think that's great. I'm going to let you pass the mic to Dana. Dana, so you and Ruben, you said you watched.
Yeah.
And obviously, we don't always have the same experiences. Spouses don't always have the same life experiences. So tell me a little bit about your journey, like what that looked like for you early on. Like she said, 24 years ago, somebody moved out because they can't use the upstairs or whatever, if that sat with you,
Right.
So just kind of talk about that a little bit.
I'm the youngest in my family, and so I got the good fortune of being able to watch everybody else. So I watched older siblings, sometimes successfully, sometimes not so successfully, and I was able to look at examples. I was also fortunate to live at home probably longer than the others, and I was living at home when my mom was caring for her mother. So we all lived together, and so I got to see what that really looked like. And as my life progressed and I got married and had kids, my kids would come over, and so I would see things like, oh, they added a ramp into the front of the house, and this is handy. Now I can use it for my baby stroller. And other things like the plates are different now. They're not using the heavy plates. They got different lighter weight plates. And I said, Mom, you got new plates. What happened? And she said, well, Grandma really liked to unload the dishwasher, and these other plates were too heavy. So we changed. So now we have the lightweight plate. So tiny little pieces all along the way of watching as my grandmother needed a little bit, maybe not more care, but different type of care. And so very early on, I knew that I would probably be the point person for their care. And I had agreed to that. But I don't know, has anybody else here ever agreed to do something, but they didn't really understand what they were agreeing to do? So I had said, they had asked, and I had said yes, and it was fine. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
Nothing was different. I just said yes. But as time went on and our lives changed and people in our lives changed, I started to realize, oh, like I'm not sure that I've totally thought this through. So may I give an example?
Yes.
About 10 years ago, my daughter broke her foot randomly. She was just jumping around, not doing anything athletic, just broke it. And what we realized after she had a foot cast is we couldn't help her the way she needed help. So all of our bathrooms are upstairs at this other house. There was no, there was only like a powder bed downstairs, and all the bedrooms were upstairs, which is why we bought the house, because we wanted all the babies close. Now that we had this little girl with a foot cast, she was just dragging it around the house and then up the stairs, and I was putting her on my back. Terrible. And all of a sudden, I had this kind of epiphany. Oh no, we've said when mom and dad need help, they'll just move in with us. And I all of a sudden realized this isn't going to work. Where are they going to go?
Right.
And so those conversations started to just trickle in where I thought, okay, I said yes and I mean yes, but what we thought was going to happen isn't going to work. And if it does, it's probably going to be bad. So let's start talking about something different.
Yeah, that's good. Tell me about your conversation with Ruben when this house, well, let's back up. The house that you're currently in, it's not the first time you took a tour of it, right?
Correct.
You're familiar with it. So tell us a little bit about that.
So about 20 years ago, my sister purchased property and built a house. It's a little bit in the country, but kind of still in the city. Anyway, across the street from them was a house that was already built. So I watched my sister's house being constructed, and we just lived over there, right? I mean, we swam in their pool, and but we would talk occasionally. Wouldn't it be so fun if we lived across the street? Wouldn't that just be so cool? And that's all that ever was, just conversation. And then the people across the street moved in their mother and built a cottage for her in the back. And we thought, wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't that be fun? So you just kind of try it on for size. And then the people put it up for sale, and we kind of talked about it, but not really. Like we mentioned it kind of aloud, but we didn't really do any action steps. And so somebody else moved in, and then it became kind of more of a thing. Like, wouldn't that would be so nice. Nice. And then it went up for sale again. And I thought, well, maybe. And so we discussed it kind of loosely, but there was a lot of other changes going on in our life. My husband got a new job, and there was just a lot of moving parts, and it just wasn't the ideal time. So we talked about it, but didn't really take action.
Okay.
And I'd say for the 2 years after that decision, I wrestled with it. And every time I would visit my sister, I would look at this house across the street and be like, oh, just, I think it was the one that got away. And I talked to Shannon about it some, and it kind of became a source of pain because I thought, oh, I think we really missed out on an opportunity. Anyway, fast forward, it came up for sale again. And so that opportunity came about fast, but we had thought about it many times before and knew this was probably our last at bat.
So I'm going to let you pass the mic to Marilyn. And um, so Marilyn, walk us through. You guys, it wasn't like they just said, "Hey, mom and dad, y'all come move in. We found a house," right? That's not how it went. I mean, or did it?
Well, we do a lot of things together, and so obviously we had been in process. In fact, helping each other a lot.
Right.
And so there was a discussion finally, and you may guide me here so I
Yeah.
don't get carried away, but
Yeah.
on the porch one Sunday afternoon, we had the four of us, Jim and I and Ruben and Dan, and they said, "What would you think? And would you be interested at this time?" So setting a date and how would that work? So we began to talk really seriously that it might be possible if we really cooperated and helped each other.
Right. Okay. Now, it wasn't just a verbal, hey, that sounds good, right? I mean, did you guys,
We have a written agreement.
you have a written agreement?
And-
Let's
and
talk about
details.
that a little bit. How did that
And-
evolve?
And well, we have what do we call them? Meetings, homeowners meetings, HOA meetings. We have HOA meetings, and we talk about how are things going, and is it comfortable? Because the seasons change. I mean, now
Sure.
that school's in place, everything changes on schedule wise and so forth. So it is really a community.
Mhm.
It's just a different type of community that Danny has, which is wonderful, or all of the other wonderful communities
Options.
around. But for us, I think this fits well. So we're very, very communicative and very clear. And even then, not everything's perfect. You just do the best you can.
Sure.
So, for example, because we live close, the grandchildren we love come over frequently. So I asked Ruben to please put on a doorbell because I want to make sure it didn't get caught in my underwear or
Right.
something.
Exactly.
So we don't get that close. We have the clarity.
Right.
And then so I was concerned that if because it's all one piece of property, so if the ship goes down, we all go down together. So
Right.
I asked them if they would add some insurance
Mhm.
on the major breadwinner, Ruben, to make sure that if he was out of the picture, and he said, "Well, I've got insurance," and I said, "That's going to take care of your family.
Right.
What's going to pay the place off? Mortgage type insurance." And so, because that was worrying, so we tried to take care of the things that worried each of us
Uh-huh.
or that just bugged us, and
Right.
then talk them out and figure it out because we want to work together. That's the whole idea.
Right.
In fact, not only does Lisa, the other daughter, live across the driveway, but there is, y'all can help us pray about this.
Mhm.
We have another daughter in Phoenix, and there is a hookup for
Ah.
their RV. So we're kind of hoping they come to Oklahoma if they don't build close, that because we're very serious about this doing community together.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I'm gonna let you pass back to Dana because you mentioned something that I think is really important, Marilyn, about your process. And I am acquainted with an individual who, very much like you guys, wanted to uh, stay close in community with her child, right? Um, on dad's deathbed, son promises mom, or dad, I'm going to take care of mom. So dad passes away, mom sells the house, um, gives the kids the money to build a new house so that they can have a multi-generational home. They didn't really do their homework. Mom has a bedroom with a bathroom in the hall, which also serves as a guest bathroom. It doesn't have a separate entrance. She doesn't have a kitchenette. She doesn't even have access to the kitchen because the daughter-in-law is very particular. And none of this is
I would have
writing.
negated that. So just,
Yeah.
that does not check the boxes.
No.
We had our boxes pretty well lined out.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so we kind of knew what would and would not work. And then we talked about it to make sure we didn't miss the things between boxes.
Yeah. I think that's what I love about that. And the takeaway that I hope that the audience has today is that even if you talk through it and even if it's well intended, and if you don't have it in writing and everyone's not clear on the expectations, that can cause some problems, right? So, Dana, you guys actually have a contract on it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
We wanted it in writing for us, but I wanted it in writing for my sisters, whom I love dearly and are very supportive of this. But you live long enough, you hear stories, and I just thought all of it takes to get really sideways with somebody is to have your finances and the loss of a parent to really sever a relationship. And I don't want that. But here's the other thing. I also don't know that I want them in every one of my financial decisions. So it's a little bit of a balance, like telling them enough, but not too much. Because the agreements between us has nothing to do with my sister, but she is also watching. So I wanted to know, and I've told them, I said, there is an agreement. We have talked about it. This is what it looks like. So if there are questions, I could say, we did talk about it and everybody agreed and sat down, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're like accessing my bank statement. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it could get complicated real quick, and so we're trying to avoid that by keeping things simple.
Yeah, you've got some transparency, but not, significant. Marilyn, what you want to add to that? You see why I only gave them one mic, right?
We did include the sons-in-law. We have the
Yes.
world's best sons-in-law, the right ones for each of the girls. So we worked hard to make sure that we had tried to attend to their concerns as well, so that it really worked. It really worked, pleasantly, but it was intentional.
That's right. Marilyn, I'll let you keep the mic because I have a question for you. You mentioned I like Punch and Judy over there. Okay, so you mentioned this is new. Like it's not like you've been living together for a long time, right? Like this is a new venture, right? And you mentioned seasons, right? So let's talk about the initial move. Is there anything you'd like to share with the audience about the process of leaving your home and moving into this new home and some ahas or, things that you learned that you think could be beneficial for others?
Everything that I've learned in the last 10 years with villages and the lead up to that and so forth, and from Danny, who is so well educated in all this, and from Shannon, I met Shannon, I think 9 years ago. You were just a pup then, So all of this has been over a long period of time. And what I learned was that you should move your things, the things that fit in the new downsized place, and then sell the home. So we tried to apply the things that we had learned because that makes good sense, not try to pack up everything and then keep it. So we did it in stages. And so my one son-in-law said, no problem. We'll just come over and move you. We can do that in 2 days. No, we're going to take 3 months. We're going to do, so it helped to have some backing in the process. Then the downsizing process, we didn't have a lot, but we did have some special things. But it worked out nicely because the benefit of doing this cooperatively was that I gave my Yamaha piano to Lisa across this driveway. Now she gets to dust it and pay for tuning it, and I can play it anytime I want.
I love that.
Among us, we didn't need 3 Instapots, so I gave my Instapot away. And so because it just made sense, so those kind of things kind of work themselves out. So as far as the move itself, is there something else you want to address?
I just whatever insights you gained that you maybe either caught you off guard or surprised you or any of that, or if you felt like you were prepared because
I started with the knife drawer. I mean, you've done downsizing clubs and so forth, and that all of that is so helpful. So get educated, attend Downsizers Club, attend Senior Living Truth Series, attend Time for Living.
Yeah.
I mean, Connie and her team are helping so many people just be informed, and it takes a while. So as I said, we've been at this, thinking about this in general for more than 25 years,
Right.
and so and living it with parents and so forth. So it wasn't a quick decision at all, and when we did have other alternatives, I think. So was there anything that surprised me? I really wept going through my knife drawer, which is the first drawer I took and at 3 months out, because I had some of Aunt Jess's knives, and I had and the guy that sharpens knives told me they weren't even that good. I don't know why. It was kind of dumb, One was a green handle, one was red. It was the stupidest thing. It was like, but I kind of worked through that, and then bought myself a new set. And gave myself permission. So it just takes time to do that. If you rip that Band-Aid too quickly, I think it would probably be very difficult.
Yeah.
And I would have probably not acted nice.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair. That's fair. All right, Dana, same question. Anything that either surprised you or delighted you or, anything that you think could be a good, aha?
The process of watching them go through their house was, moving's just the worst.
Yeah.
It's just the worst.
Yeah.
I'd really rather do so many other things.
These people love moving. Moving's great, right, guys?
It's terrible.
No one ever.
Your stuff's all over the place. You have to come to realization of how much stuff you have, and you're kind of disgusted with yourself. It's like, how could I have got this many baskets? Like, how? And then people are making fun of how many baskets that you have, and it. Until she had to borrow one, that felt so good. That felt so good. She gave me so much grief, but I just can't believe someone would need this many baskets. And then the day she came across and said, "Your baskets," I was like, "What was that? Say it one more time, please." It was so painful to watch them go through their thing.
Yeah.
But I was so grateful. And I will say, out of all of this, that probably has been the biggest gift.
Yeah.
To myself, because that's what everybody my age is worried about. Of course, they're worried about their parents and their health and their happiness, but they're really worried about it because they don't want it.
Yeah.
And honestly, watching my own parents go through my grandmother's house, that's the difference that also happened in that 2-year period when we looked at this house before. The last time we looked at it, they hadn't sold grandma's house yet. And it took them 2 years to clear it and lots of tears.
Yeah.
And it was painful. And I think they saw that and we saw that and we all said, let's not do that.
Yeah.
Let's not do it that way.
Right.
So we couldn't have purchased this house alone. We wanted to and we couldn't. It was too much house.
Yeah.
And so we had to agree. The timing had to be right and they had to be willing to let go of that to come to this new place. So we had to be in agreement. My husband is one of 7, and his mother's an only child, and his dad's the youngest of 9. So he doesn't have really any grandparent experience watching them age or caregiving or any of that. So he is kind of like, what is happening here? This is wild. And I've asked him a couple of times, so this is still new.
Mm-hmm.
We moved in January.
Right.
Every once in a while, I'll look at him and say, okay, really, how are you doing? Are we okay? Is this going to work? And he said, it was great.
Yeah.
He does love her.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah.
he's like, people ask me all the time, and they ask me, and I'll say, we've done this move, and they'll say, I didn't know they were doing that. And I said, have you seen them?
Yeah.
They're doing amazing.
Yeah.
They're the ones cooking us dinner. They're the ones making the grass look better than it's ever looked.
Yeah.
They're the ones cleaning the pool. Like, we are getting out scot-free.
Yeah.
Of this deal. No, not really.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, all of this work that we were all doing independently,
Yeah.
now we're just doing it together.
Right.
And so when I have too much meatloaf, I share it. Or really not the case. When she has too much meatloaf, she shares it with me. And it just, and people are coming in the house and, borrowing milk, and my nieces and nephews are coming over. So we were close before, but there's no kind of closeness like living this close. And when Ruby comes over,
Aw. Yeah. Talk about Ruby coming over. Yeah.
Ruby comes over to say goodnight.
Oh.
I'll tell you something funny that'll wake you up. Yeah.
She's your youngest granddaughter,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So we talked about she went to school today, so I still cheering. Yeah. And her brother drove her, so Dana didn't even get to tell her. So
she's holding it together very well, as a guy.
yeah. Being mothers is just it never ends.
No.
Funny thing that happened was people always telling people what to do. You need to downsize and you need to this and you need to whatever. Just like I told her about the basket. Well, we moved and we because of the shop that Jim has, we had a dumpster, and so we were getting rid of things. When we helped move Grandma's house, we ended up going through 3 major big time dumpsters.
Sure.
We a lot of stuff. So anyway, so we got the dumpster, we going, and then I heard this noise early in the morning. Somebody was in the dumpster diving.
Oh my!
I couldn't believe it. It's the other son-in-law over there. He's like, "This is really good stuff. Hey, can you let this go?" So when her sister was thanking us, Mom, this is such a gift. It's such a blessing. We won't have to go through that. I said, guess what? It's going to be in your garage. So anyway, and so we see ourselves a little more clearly when we're open like that.
Yeah.
Well, better now.
Yeah, that's good. Well, and I know, Shannon, I'm going to kind of go back to you for just a second. Obviously, we love the Olson story, and the fact that, your sister lives across the street, and you guys have this opportunity. It's almost like a compound, and we do have people that do that, like that's a thing. But that's not going to be an opportunity for everybody, right? So, but the multi-generational opportunity is still an option for folks, right?
It is, and I want to stress something. I've had the honor of watching this process with them from your grandmother's house and Jim's mom's house, and then going through this for years. And this is not an overnight thing. I smile whenever I hear whatever the topic at the Sunday table was, because I have the same mom, but she does it in the car. Same principle, though. It can be some wild, and this is a wild question, wild. There's no telling what the topic's going to be, but they talk it out, and they've talked it out for years. So this was not an overnight process, and I want people to understand that, because that's the key to any decision you make. Is about thinking it through and looking at the details and utilizing the strengths of your team. I was so impressed, and this is my takeaway from their downsizing, is I called it Marilyn's elves, because I told her, I said, I can get you an estimate for cleaning the house. Someone will come in and get it taken care of. No, I think we can do it this weekend. I go, well, Marilyn, you shouldn't have to clean your own house. I mean, it's still a pretty big house, a lot to do. She said, no, I think we'll get it taken care of. Well, she brought in her elves, so her daughters came in. She had grandkids.
I am the elf.
Yeah, and they all came in and cleaned it. I came back on Monday or Tuesday, and it was clean. It's like, oh my God, this is extraordinary. How did you do this? We took care of it. And it's like, but it's a team. So she has this resource team, and it's not just her family. It's Villages people. It's all the people you see here. She's utilized in different ways. Dana's utilized in different ways. So that's probably the key takeaway. With multi-generational living, the putting it in writing is probably one of the key things. And asking what both sides want and what are their boxes. Moving them into a bedroom with a bathroom in the hall and no real privacy. It doesn't sound like a formula for success to me. That wouldn't be my box.
Well, and the other thing that came out of that conversation was that she's now stuck in that situation because the equity that she gave them it was her largest asset. And so her plan wasn't all the way thought out.
And
So
was it her plan or was it her husband's plan?
It-
Because he was very
exactly.
concerned.
Exactly.
And rightfully so. And he was doing what he thought was best.
Right.
But it's a total conversation. It's not just
Right.
one-sided, because you have a lot of people involved.
Yeah.
And that's probably the key. It's not just about what's good for the kids or the grandkids or even the senior. It has to be good for all, or it's not going to work. Multi-generational is really what you're going to see more of. And we're going to have you'll see road bumps and you'll see changes and evolutions through that. But it's a wise thought and a wise discussion that I think people don't always discuss.
Right. And I think the conversations have to start early. And Danny, you and I, in the world that we're in, we have conversations with folks. And what's the average length of time that, from the time somebody comes in to the time they make a decision, what does that time frame look like? What's the average?
Well, I mean, it could be several years.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's quick if they're in crisis.
Yes, if they're in crisis. Yeah, sure.
But if they're planning, it could be several years. And I think that's the key, is just planning.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think about just this week. I mean, we run into a lot of people who come to us in different situations. And just this week, I had 2 examples of couples who planning was an issue, one good, one not so good. One couple planned ahead. They're at Concordia. Crisis situation going on health-wise, and they needed care quickly, and we were able to accommodate that. Just this week, another couple, the daughter lives in Oklahoma. The couple lives out of state, crisis. She can't care for them in another state because she's running a business here, and now she's scrambling. I need to move my parents to Oklahoma, and it's a matter of what's available.
Mhm.
And so,
And assessing what their level of care need is. That's the other
all of that.
challenge.
So, planning makes a huge difference, like we talked about before, in choices. And you can't do that well in one day.
So,
It's time,
yeah.
a lot of time.
Yeah. We are going to have
One of the things
Yeah, go
that he mentioned, it takes time, and I think it's because it's not the fact, it's not the transactions
Yeah.
that take time. You can call somebody and get that taken care of quickly, but the emotions take time.
Yeah.
And they do weird things to you, your body physically.
Yeah.
So I don't know about all those, endorphins and hormones and
Right.
stuff, but they all go to work big time.
Yeah.
And it's much easier if you just kind of dribble it out and in the process.
while you're feeling well. Okay.
And he said something really important, that people are in different states.
Yep.
People think they can make these decisions by looking online. You cannot get a feel for any type of community by the pictures online.
Yeah.
You can't get a feel for a house by the pictures online. When people
Hey,
tell me
Shannon,
they bought a
we almost didn't sell our house. It looked so good when the pictures got done. The pictures were better than it really was.
one, I hear that a lot, and then I remind them how much the price is, and they're willing to let that go. Yeah, yeah. But it does happen, and you can't tell. When people tell me that they bought a house sight unseen and they're living there, I just take a deep breath and smile. And I wish the best for them because it's hard to identify by pictures. So it's an in-person thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not a knee-jerk, situation. So
That's part of the emotion.
yeah, absolutely. All right. So how many of you guys are curious about what the Olson compound looks like? Yeah? Okay. Guess what? We figured you might be inquisitive or curious. So we are going to play a video, and we had to break it into stages. And Shannon, thank you for making this happen. Because she's a realtor, she had access to the video equipment. So but we're going to talk through it. Is that right? Okay. So I'm going to get going. And this screen is broken, guys. Sorry. So pay attention to that one over there. Sorry. All right. It's going. Walking
There it
through
is. That's the front door.
Yep.
There's multiple doors, and so sometimes Amazon gets confused. So sometimes I get eggs from Walmart that I didn't order.
That's my dining table. I gave it to her.
Yes. And she also told me the best place to put it.
Yeah.
That's fine. So there's a study/piano room.
And this is for Dana and Ruben
Yes,
and
this is
children.
This
Okay.
is the main house. We did talk some about names. That was kind of important. So for a while we were like, what's this place in the back? It's the rent house. No, it's not an outhouse. No. And so we settled on cottage, and that was something else that was really important to her. She didn't want to, it's her home. So
Yep.
what it was called was important. This was an Airbnb for a while, and so there was a lot of stickers that say quiet hours after 9 o'clock. We just leave those stickers up. We didn't think of it. Here's the shared outside area. And what we've decided as a family is this is shared. So if they want to have a party, this is theirs too. A village party, maybe
That's
that's
what I
still
was
in the
just
mix.
gonna say.
Yeah. It's meant to be shared, right? It's too big of a place not to share with other people. All right, you're up.
This is the cottage. All
So
right.
the outside entrance from the driveway is our little pathway to the cottage, and goes through the area. Used to have a hot tub in there, but we took it out, and so it's got a covered area. This front door. Oh no, that's the pool room. Sorry.
Yeah.
So there was not room for a washer and dryer because the previous people didn't use that. They used the house, so we put that in the pool bath. It works out just fine. And for the 16-year-old party they had last week, this was the boys' bathroom. So
That works.
we just modified it. So
We talked about the laundry, like just use ours. And then we kind of tried it on for size, and we thought, well, I don't know if that's going to work.
yeah. So this is our entrance, and has a full kitchen, two ovens, and plenty of cabinet space. I had plenty of extra dishes, so I had to give some away, but it worked out fine. Only thing I had to buy was bar stools and the carpet. So we have a living area, and every Sunday night the kids come over, so we have cottage with cousins. And this is our bedroom. So we just have one bedroom. Easy to clean. I mean, it's just I can get to do the things that I really enjoy doing. So, and then one bath and closet. But it worked out. It just works out great. We've had to make adjustments just like everybody does, but it is a huge blessing. So
Yeah.
I've been thanking the men, the sons-in-law, regularly.
Okay. Speaking of men, this was not just a Olson, Maryland move. This is a Jim move too. So what do we have for Jim?
Yeah.
Oops,
So
not going. Hold on. There we go.
So there's Pop Shop. The girls had his sign made on Etsy. Can make anything if you need that. It says
I
Pop
like
Shop
that.
established 2026. And he does a lot of business in there. At least you think so.
Yep.
It may be stained glass. It may be welding. It may be woodworking. Whatever. So we're still kind of working through it. At the back of the room is my granddad's player piano that Jim refinished.
Oh.
And so he couldn't get rid of it. So we played it. So we had ice cream and player piano. It sounded like a honky tonk, but we had a great time. So anyway, we're still dealing with a lot of stuff from his mother and family. And so some of that never ends, but it is a great place, and it would not have worked. It would not have worked if Jim didn't have a place to do his thing. So it just, you gotta know what you want and what you're looking for, and then make it work. So when all his corn comes in and his watermelons, we are going to have a feast.
Love it.
We would like to have a village party. We haven't put that together yet. We've got some work to do, but it has allowed us to do some of the things we just didn't have time for because we were cleaning a big house, and this time we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, that's so fantastic. And Shannon, I know that you have a strong opinion about Jim's shop and the importance of that. Do you want to share anything about that as far as like considering, multi-generational living?
It had to be a win for both of them. I can tell you, this is the first time I saw the shop. I saw the cottage, and first time I got to see the main house. And I always thought, well, man, Jim did a really good job. This is a big deal. I mean, I know he's always had workshops, so I thought he really kind of gave up quite a little bit. Well, then I saw the workshop.
He had three rental warehouses.
Storage house.
So we had to have, even if he downsized, he had to have a place.
A place. So I didn't know about the workshop. And when I saw the workshop, it was my aha. I thought, I understand now why this is such a success. But I also realized when we made this video that every gentleman in this room is now thinking, well, I'll downsize, find me that workshop, and I will agree to move wherever you need me to. So I'm going to start looking for places with workshops. You'll see me later, and I'll let you know as I see them come available. Because this is a good example of a win-win. Right. It was a win for everybody.
Right. Yeah. And I want to say that it's not just like if your thing is tinkering and having a garage and doing mechanical work and all of that's the garage. But it could be the kitchen. Like if you just had a kitchenette and you love to cook, that wouldn't work.
Well, but there's also communities that cater to that.
Yep.
That they will have a workshop for their residents.
Yep.
So it doesn't have to be a workshop in the backyard. There's different ways. There's more than one way to get to Albuquerque.
Yeah.
So you can just have to see what the box is and then how it fits.
Right.
So this is how it fit for them, but know that there are other ways to be able to do that. It doesn't have to just be the workshop. So know that is a unicorn. It is something you have to search for. It doesn't just appear.
Yeah.
And so, but there are other ways to be able to still accommodate that box. Because there's people who create jewelry, there's people who paint and quilt,
whatever it is.
Yeah, and so people live different ways in communities, in neighborhoods, all sorts of different ways to do it. But this was an eye opener for me.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many people, Danny, you may have other examples, but how many people we've had to accommodate or chosen to accommodate that had a long arm quilting machine or had a baby grand piano or other things that they needed a boat, RVs. We got all kinds of things. So you don't have to give up your hobbies, right?
Sculptures, tall gardens. Yes, I've seen them at your place. I know.
There you go.
I know what.
All right. So